So in our last video, we did 10 times as much as, so I bet you could figure out what's gonna come next. Now we're gonna do 1/10 of, but instead of doing it in fraction form, since we're doing decimals, we're gonna do it in decimal form. So remember, 1/10 equals 0.1 or 1/10. They're really the same thing, just fractions versus decimals. So that's what we're gonna be doing right now. So again, we're gonna start the exact same. We have 7 1500ths times 1. And we know that we multiply times 1, it's the multiplication property of identity. And so we just keep it the same, 7 1500ths. Now let's move on. 7 1500ths times 1/10. So we know that when we went bigger, we went to the right. So when we go smaller, we're going to go to the left. So think of it this way. If you have 9 times 1/10, you're looking for 1/10 of that 9. You're going to get a smaller piece. Let's think of it in a different way. Let's say you've got a pizza and you want it cut into 10 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 pieces, and you take 1/10 of that pizza. That's going to be a pretty small piece of that pizza. So when we go by decimals or by fractions, we're going to go smaller. So we're going to go to the left. So 7.15 times 1/10. All we're going to do is move it 1 to the left, and we've got 0 and 715 hundredths. Now, some of these are going to get a little bit bigger than we typically know how to read, so we're just going to call them by their numbers instead of reading them properly until you know how to read them a little bit more. And that's what you're going to learn in a little bit later grades. So we're going to do the same thing. Times 100th, we know that would be 1 over 100. There's 2 zeros there. So all we're going to do is go 1, 2, 0, and 0, 7, 1, 5. Let's do another one. We've got 7 1500ths times 1 over 1,000. So that would be 1 over 1,000. There are 3 zeros there. Now, I know that can be a little bit confusing because it seems like we should move it twice because there's 2 zeros behind the decimal and in front of the 1. But in reality, we're counting all 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3 zeros there. So we're going to move it 1, 2, 3 places. Add our zeros in. 0 and 0, 0, 7, 1, 5. That was a little confusing, so let's do a couple more. The next one, 3 2/10. Again, we're starting out pretty easy. 3 2/10 times 1 we know is just 3 2/10. Now 3 2/10 times 1/10. Remember, 1/10 has 1 0. So we're just going to move it 1 decimal place to the left. Because remember, smaller goes to the left. So if we move it 1 decimal place to the left, we're going to get 32 hundredths. Let's do some more. 100th here, we know that 100th has 2 zeros, 1, 2. So we're going to move it 2 places to the left. 1, 2. 32 thousandths. Let's do this last one. See if you can see a pattern here. We're getting 10 times smaller each time. So we've got 3 2/10 times 1,000th. Remember, 1,000th has 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. We're going to move it 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3. Add our zeros in there. That gives us 0 and 0, 0, 3, 2. I hope that made sense. Take a look at our pattern here. We go 3 2/10, 32 hundredths, 32 thousandths, and then we add another 0. We're getting 10 times smaller each time. Now let's move on to this last problem before we get to the word problem. All right, 45 hundredths times 1. Super simple. It stays 45 hundredths. 45 hundredths times 1/10. Super simple. 1/10 has 1 0. You move it 1 to the left because we go to the left to go smaller. That gives me 45 thousandths. Now, 45 hundredths times 100th. There are 2 zeros in 100. 2 zeros here, so move it 1, 2 places to the left. Gives me 0 and 0, 45. Let's do another one. I totally did that wrong. I hope you caught it. I should have another 0 there. 0 and 0, 0, 45. Let's do the last one. 1,000. 1, 2, 3 zeros here and 3 zeros in 1,000. So we know 1, 2, 3 places to the left. That gives me 0 and 1, 2, 3 zeros, 45. I know this doesn't seem quite as easy as the multiplying times 10, but really it is. It's just in the opposite direction. You're going to get lots of practice today. Let's move on to the word problem. Last month, Katie ran 98 and 76 hundredths of miles total. Her friend Amy ran 1/10 as far. How far did Amy run? So I'm going to make sure I'm underlining the important things here. I know that Katie ran 98 and 76 hundredths of miles. Her friend Amy ran 1/10 as far. So all I'm going to do is 98 and 76 hundredths times 1/10. And we know that 1/10 means we're going to go smaller. So we're going to go to the left. 1/10, if I write it out, there's 1 0. There's also just 1 0 here. So all we're going to do is move it one place to the left. And that tells me that her friend Amy ran 9 and 876 thousandths of her mile. So almost 10 miles is what her friend Amy ran. So I hope you understood the 1/10 of. We're going to get some practice in, and then we're going to work together through your Go Math page, and I'll let you know what page it is when we get there.